This is a 9-family house. We got risers going through the building. We're cutting channels out on all levels to bring up through the building. Also on this level, bringing holes and risers up. 9-family. Go down to the basement. Take a look at the service. It's going to be set up. Okay, so I already got a lot of material over here. This is one issue that we need to work on. Alright, so our temp wires are in to our end line box, which sits up on this wall. And from here, we have a jumper, which comes across through a piece of pipe, which will be, since this is a 200 amp end line box, we'll have a switch over here right underneath, which will be a 3-phase 200 amp main breaker enclosure. Because of New York City code, anything over a 4-family house requires a main switch at the entrance point within 10 feet for fire department code, because they don't want to be looking around the building shutting off switches everywhere. So this is a 9-family. They're not going to come in and shut off 9 switches. They're going to shut off one, which will turn all of this off, which is a 9-bank of residential meters, square D with the transition box. Again, we come over here down to a switch. Main breaker, 3-phase. Since there's 3-phase coming into the building, single phase, you would use a 200 amp single phase switch. Main breaker enclosure, and then from there we'll come off the bottom with a little piece of trough, come right up this side, and then I'll cut across, and then I'll come down with a piece of trough right here, which will continue down and supply the transition switch, transfer switch, and another one would be a piece of pipe coming across the top that would supply the PLP and the PLP panel. PLP is a bypass meter. Also on the bottom here, you'll see this trough set up. That'll be the cables coming in from each individual apartment, which would be coming down this corner, 9 risers, which we're bringing up in a 9-family. Comes into this trough, travels across this ceiling and pipe, and travels down that way towards where you see them hanging in the center of the ceiling here, which will put junction boxes up to make the transition over from MC cable to pipe. New York City code requires that all meter heights are 54 to 66 to the tallest on a vertical. If it's horizontal, 54 minimum, 66 maximum. New York City code, after the meter bank, let's say over here in this corner, we're going to have a PLP, which is the public lighting panel, which lights up the hallways. These are the individual apartments. Over here, we would have the PLP, which would sit with a little panel above it that handles the boiler room. This little room right here, which is the boiler room. 20 amp circuit, lighting circuit, and maybe a couple of outlets. And then the hallway basement lighting, hallway basement outlets, outdoor lighting, hallway lighting upstairs, or emergency exit signs would all come off the PLP. As you can see over here, the old service, which is so antiquated that it's back to the Edison bulb fuses. Some of these apartments only have single 1 wire coming out of them. As you can see right there, 1BX goes up to a little fuse box upstairs, or 1BX is actually handling the whole apartment and just jumped around. You'll find this all over New York City. This is pretty much what I do a lot of changing out of. Culver Electric has been doing services in basements over here for the last, I would say, decade of transitioning basements like this into basements like this, where everything is 1 wall, 1 switch. As you can see, how many times in the old days people had to come down here and turn these fuses that were blown on and off, changing them. Access was given to everybody in the building. Now, as you can see, those risers go up, antiquated, antique BX wiring. I would say 50 to 60 years old, but going up through the building in a mess at various points. If you see it, all this electrical wiring that's throughout the whole building is so old that there'll come a point in this project where I'll just have the whole basement cut out, but I'm waiting for the various items to be handled, like the PLP panel hung for one, and then the necessities, the boiler room, outdoor lighting, hallway lighting, and emergency lights, all that up and running, and then I'll come down here and cut everything out of the building, along with having the cable company, which we're putting in new risers internally inside the building through the walls, so there is no exterior, as you see all over downtown Brooklyn, East New York, Bushwick, exterior penetrations into the building, and you got wire hanging all over the outside of the building over decades of different TV companies. This is the boiler room. Standard hot water heater needs to be possible reconnection if they change to electric. Old boiler system just needs power brought up here with a switch at the top of the stairs, which is standard in New York City code. Again, this is a 9 family. As you can see, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 meters. One of them will be for the public lighting panel, which is listed as halls right there. That's the meter that supplies everything for the landlord. Everything else is individualized apartments. And as you can see, those fuses, some of them burnt. Some of them don't even have fuses in them. They send the wiring upstairs. Some of them are 30 amp circuits, which are supplying the whole apartment. You know, as you can see, these are 30s, 30s, 20s, 40s, some of them. But the wiring is not rated at 30 to 40 amps. I see basic 20 amp BXs in here, and over the years, people just threw 30 amp plus fuses as a way out in case the store didn't have 20s. There's no purpose in it. Don't worry about it. Throw a 30 in there. This is the riser, the old riser from Con Edison, coming into here, servicing this. And now it's coming out, and it's temped over to here, which we'll be taking out in the end. So again, under New York City code, N-line box, Con Edison N-line box, whatever amperage it may be, whether it be a 100 amp house, 200 amp house, or 400 amp house, an N-line box is made for that size amperage. Below that, you'll have your main breaker for anything over 4-family house. And then over here, you have a setup from Square D of a 9-bank meter for a 9-family. Over there is the connection box. You just hit that, and it livens up everything. Here we have 3-phase in this building, which is very odd for this area, but an opportune time to use only 200 amps coming from over here, main breaker enclosure, and supply those 4 legs right there you see in there. Once you hit 1, 2, 3, 4 with the neutral, and then you bond it down here in the corner, you're pretty much done with the whole system. And that's why I like these setups. You pay a little more money. You pay actually a lot more money, but in the end, the labor costs of having individual meters with individual breakers, these come with the individual breaker setup that which plugs in right there. So nobody ever has to come to the basement again. To blow a main, you really have to take 2 wires, stick them in a wall, and actually hold them together. Again, 9-family, downtown Brooklyn, undisclosed location.